Welcome everyone in another episode of the Daily Dev Roasting DevRel. I'm super excited. This is the episode number 10. And again, we have here Nimrod, the CEO of Daily Dev. We have Josh Long, a long-time friend. And
Hello.
today, again, we will talk about unpopular opinions about DevRel. If you're in the chat, you can say hi. And by the way, all these events are sponsored by daily.dev. So one thing that you can do, you can just check it out, daily.dev, a browser extension to have everything in your feed and staying up to date as a developer and much, much more. But I would like to first the guest to introduce himself and also then Nimrod, and then we can start. So Josh, welcome here, my friend. You have a great haircut. I don't know where you now. You're always traveling, so please introduce yourself and so we can get started.
Hi, buddy. It's good to see you. It's been a long time, almost 4 weeks. I am in Malmo, Sweden, for the Dev conference, and I work on the Spring team in my capacity as a Spring developer advocate. Spring's a small open source Java framework that I believe one day will be quite big.
It's not as small, but yes, okay. I love being humble.
I've done the math. I've done the math. There's basically 8 billion people on the planet. Maybe 10 or so million people are using Spring. So there's a lot more to go. There's a lot more. 7 billion, 999 million, 999. Whatever. It's a lot. 90 million. Yeah. There's a lot more people to get using Spring, so the work is not done.
I am one of them, so we can count me in this group. Nimrod, we started co-hosting this. I think you wanted to join the first one, and now you're hooked into this series as a host. You probably also host a bit more, so I can answer some questions. And so please introduce yourself again, and how are you?
Hey, thank you, Francesco. So I'm Nimrod. I'm co-founder and CEO of this company called daily.dev. And we're trying to build the platform, the professional network for developers to grow professionally. And it's a free product. It's a consumer product. You just go in, you sign up, you tell us what you're interested in, and then you're going to get a feed that's fully personalized for everything that matters for you as an engineer. In addition to that, there is a lot of group and community activity with something called squads, where people can form like sub-communities on the platform around literally any kind of topic. There are tens of thousands of these groups. Some of them are massively huge, almost like 6 figures big, and some of them are more niche and intimate. And recently we've started rolling out something called career mode, which is something that it's a new part of the platform where developers can get hired on their own terms, which I think is exactly the opposite of what's currently happening on the internet, where they're getting spammed with a bunch of recruiters and hiring managers and trying to avoid it unless it's really relevant. But the amount of noise right now is like so big that we're trying to use and leverage our position as one of the world's largest and most active developer networks out there and put the power in the hands of developers to find out their new step of their career. So stay tuned for that. And I've been speaking with a lot of recruiters, and one of the most common icebreakers is me asking them, do you know what is the difference between Java and JavaScript? And if you laugh, then you should be sad. And if you're sad, you can consider start laughing. But I think only probably like 1 in 3 recruiters can actually answer that question. They know it's very different, but they don't really know what the actual difference is. So there's a lot of education to be done on that front, that's for sure. But yeah, that's my quick intro. Happy to be here. As always, we want to center those events around talking and asking some of the tough questions, some controversial questions, and get people's take and to see where it takes us.
Perfect. And I think that there is like now we almost feel that it's like normal, to getting annoyed by recruiter plus spam and things, but I don't think it should be. So maybe you're trying to fix this, and we can also talk about this later. Of course, Josh, talking about careers, I think you have been a developer advocate for a while. I'm saying this as a compliment. So first of all, I would like to know for how long you have been a developer advocate, if this has been your first role ever as a developer advocate or not. So a bit more about your career as a developer advocate, please.
Yeah, I mean, I was an engineer by trade. I did that for a decade, as you know, doing all sorts of stuff, and then I started in 2010, so 15 plus years ago. By the way, have you heard? You've heard this before, of course. Java is to JavaScript as car is to carpet. So you know that, yeah. It's just
That's
it's
brilliant. That's probably
true.
the best. It gets me every time because it's so damn true.
So true. So yeah, 2010, 15 years. Wow. And it's my first, hopefully last too, by the way. Like I have no intention of, I love Spring. Spring's awesome. The people are awesome. The community's awesome. That's where I'm happy.
Yes, talking about Spring, just for 1 minute, this has been the first framework I ever used to create an API in 2015, 2016. So this basically initialized me, it made me understand how the internet worked. So it was for a university exam. So, and I still remember that it was at the beginning of Spring Boot. It was some time ago. So, so yes, always a fun. I think I've watched a couple of videos about that. Josh, something that like in this whole career, like something, can you tell us something that happened? I don't know, that maybe can be interesting, a bit weird. I don't know, something you remember, like something that the first thing that comes up in your mind. I want to hear something from you. I don't know, a memory of in your career that I don't know. It was a bit even shocking or something that maybe you wouldn't expect. Yeah, do you have?
I mean, there's all sorts of, I don't know, I have no single one, but there's all sorts of weird stuff. I get recognized sometimes in my civilian life, and that's kind of weird. I took my family, the girls and I went to, I was going to do a presentation in Jakarta, which is the island of Java, right? So I was doing a presentation about Java and Spring in Java. And before we were going to go do that, the girls and I went to Bali, which is like a vacation. It's beautiful, beautiful island with, it was just somebody recognized me, and like, I was with the girls, and they didn't believe this kind of stuff happened. At the time, I got recognized at a not a Starbucks, a Phil's Coffee in San Francisco. Just a very strange thing. It's one thing to be slightly known in your own context, but out in the world, it's bizarre. And then the other thing is, because I take so many flights, I've met a number of interesting people just by accident. And so, for example, I met Michael Moore, who's a famous documentarian, on a flight going to London. And then I met just on the way here to Switzerland. I flew from the States to Switzerland and from Switzerland to Sweden. On that first class flight going into Switzerland, I met a gentleman named, I hope I don't screw up the name, but Marcelito Pomoy, who apparently he's a singer, and he won the Philippines Got Talent contest. Right. And he was a contestant on America's Got Talent. He's really good. Like, I didn't know about him before, but cool. I have a selfie with that guy. I once met Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bulgaria. You just random. I used to live in Los Angeles. I'm from Hollywood. I'm from LA, and I know all about Hollywood, but I never met anybody there. Never. Because all the celebrities don't live in LA. They live elsewhere, So who knew? It's just a very weird world, very small.
Yes, if you don't believe this, you can check his pinned tweet. So that's also a way to say, go and check his Twitter profile, because in this AI era, you always have to prove things. And this picture is way before ChatGPT, so it was for sure.
11,
yeah, for sure true. Yes, thank you. Yes, Nimrod, would you like to ask any question?
I don't know. Let's shift gears a little bit. You mentioned AI, so obviously we can't avoid it. There's always like the time to AI in every call, every meeting, every webinar, every event, right? So the time to AI here was quite impressive. I think we managed to talk for I don't
11
know,
minutes.
like 11 minutes.
11 minutes without AI,
mentioned
yes.
It's quite impressive. But since we touched upon it, I'd love to get your take, guys, on how AI influenced the amount of activity we see around developer communities. Because obviously before that, a lot of the troubleshooting and a lot of the frustrations and things like that were expressed in online communities, primarily on Stack Overflow, but a lot of other niche forums and communities and discourse and etc. But now with AI, it's like the whole troubleshooting or the whole moment of me as a developer trying to solve something all of a sudden happens with in front of a machine, in front of an LLM. How do you see that nowadays? Did it indeed reduce the amount of engagement around different developer communities, or did it actually create the counterintuitive effect?
Wait, you're asking how did it inform engagement with developer communities, or did it?
Are developers engaging more with communities or less? Or do we see any difference?
I don't know. I think we created new problems, and so therefore new bugs. We're just moving more quickly, but we're creating more bugs more quickly too. And so yeah, I don't know. I think there's probably
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I can say by my opinion, let's say my perception, it has been, I don't know if it's just me, you can confirm this or not, Josh, for sure. In the last years, I've seen people engaging more in person, like people like reaching out to me like in person, like because they wanted to talk, especially at the Committee or Code conference. I got like 40 people like who wanted like to have a one-on-one conversation, like a human conversation one-on-one. I don't know if this is because of AI, but this is something that happened to me, let's say quite a lot. And I see like many people complaining about the interactions with AI, the interactions with chatbot. Probably some of them, they are still using it, but they really don't like the experience. So I don't know. Maybe for some support, maybe some developers are still using it, but from a community perspective, I don't know. I think that people still wants to be connected with people, because this is why you are doing a community also because you want to be recognized, that you want to, and the AI can't really recognize you, so you don't get a lot. Maybe you can get some information from a chatbot. Maybe this is not what you want when you're part of the community. What do you think?
I didn't realize. Okay, so now I kind of understand what you're saying. You're saying I have the ability to get answers from the AI. Why would I go to a in-person event? And I don't know that for me that number doesn't seem to have dropped all that much, but I do think there are macroeconomic sort of externalities that are making it in certain places less likely to see people, and so, but I all over Europe I'm having no trouble. Big conferences, everything seems fine, yeah, I don't know. I think, again, I don't think these people, I think we lost a lot of people in the last several years. The programming community writ large as a whole thing, doesn't matter what part of it you're in, there's less jobs now than there were 3 years ago. There are fewer jobs. There are, I think, a lot of people moving or integrating or repurposing their skills to take advantage of AI. And so to the extent that we had a pretty okay sized community of people back in 2022 before AI, I think we've lost, not related to the AI. I don't actually think there's all that many people are. I just think we have inflation. We have all these other. We have the companies cannot write off the cost of R&D until recently in the United States. There's a lot of things that are just causing people to let go of jobs, and so you see fewer people in total. But I think the people that you've got are all. There's just more things to do now. There's more ways to use AI, and so there's more communities, and there's therefore, I think, as eager or more eager interest than ever, And maybe they've moved. You're right. Maybe they've moved from Stack Overflow, but in-person conferences and events and all that, there might be more events. There might be more AI themed events. Who knows? Typically these things tend to attract new people, not diminish existing ones.
And of course, the number of talks about AI is out of control. But yes, we like to talk about everything. So we talk about the new hot thing, and now it's AI. So So yes.
Maybe a follow-up to that. I think one of the interesting ways AI is or has changed a lot of the ways developers work is that, going back to the whole troubleshooting theme, is that in the past, a lot of the troubleshooting or all the troubleshooting has happened, was performed by humans, and now there's a lot of agents that are trying to get answers as proxy to another human, probably on the other end. And how does that influence the role of a DevRel? Because at the end of the day, like one of the jobs of DevRel is to serve the developer community that they are part of, that they're leading, and helping them be successful with the kind of tool, framework, language, whatever they're trying to advocate for.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it almost feels like if you want to be a successful dev advocate, you need to put the right tools and infrastructure in place for agents to be successful as well, with the technology that you're advocating for. What's your view on that?
So I started doing this in 2010, and in 2010, we didn't quite have the rampant availability of software as a service, right? For everything in the last 15 years, everything that was a product before is now a product plus an API. And as long as you've got an API, you need somebody to speak APIs and software to that audience, right? So the Salesforce is a product that is good for business, but the API that you use to talk to Salesforce is a thing that you need to connect with the developers on. And so developer advocacy as a thing went from this very niche thing in the last 15, 20 years to this very, very, very big thing. Every company ever has an API, and therefore every company ever has a developer advocate. They should. Otherwise, they're going to fail to meet an important segment of their customer base. And so I think now, to the extent that we have AI, obviously that's just another way of exporting your APIs, right? It's another interface for your APIs. And there's going to be, in the same way, there's going to need to be somebody who can do the sort of advocacy for that API, for that technology, for that MCP service, or whatever you're using to the developer-facing and AI-facing community, right? So I do think we'll actually see even more, or if nothing else, the existing people will, hopefully they'll learn to be able to speak to the AI stuff. But if nothing else, they'll hire more as well to speak to that, because now you've got two different ways to consume and connect and embrace these technologies.
Yes, I think that the developer advocate is it should be a very flexible role that you need to adapt like to basically all the needs of the company, and the needs might change like regardless of the AI or not. So for sure it's a role that still makes sense, but of course maybe it's changing, and maybe it makes sense that developer advocates they try to help where the company needs them the most. So this, I think that this is the point of view. And yes, maybe it's shifted a bit. So maybe one problem is that maybe a developer advocate who was very strong maybe in that part, maybe it needs to replace some things done by the AI. So maybe they have to shift on doing something else. There will always be something to do. Is this what basically you are asking for, Imrod?
Yeah, exactly. All right, I'm going to ask another one, Francesco, and then you take it. So
Sure.
Maybe on totally different theme. I'm a great believer in that values, core values as a human, like values create business value. And so I want to help our audience get you know even better, Josh. What are your core values, and how do you connect them to dev advocacy nowadays?
Oh boy, my core values. I don't know. I stand for building good software. Software is I like people who are able to build things and get them into production quicker. The more quickly you can do that, the more successful you are in the market. And so, anything that helps that, I'm a big fan of. So a lot of the things I talk about are cloud computing because it allows you to reduce cycle time. I talk about AI because it allows you to reduce cycle time. I talk about building modular systems because, again, it reduces the surface area of your code base, which means that you have fewer meetings and conversations with other people because you've accidentally created dependencies that they now depend on, which means you have to negotiate whenever you change one of those dependencies. I like microservices for that same reason. It creates a forcing function. And this helps create peace in the office, and it makes work productive. It allows you to go more quickly. Cycle time is how you make something that is pleasant to you stay pleasant, right? If you can go quickly, you'll still be having fun. If, on the other hand, you go slowly, if you're dealing with a large code base and every little thing takes forever to make a change or see that change deployed into production, you'll become very frustrated. And so this becomes work as opposed to fun. So me, anything I can do to increase cycle time, I'm all about that. And it's not a personal, I mean, personally, I like having fun with software, it's my point. Now, as an advocate, I do believe that nobody trusts software, right? Nobody wakes up and says, those are my bits over there. I care about those bits. We're connected, we're friends, these bits and bytes. There's that doesn't exist, right? People trust people. And so the job of an advocate is to take a very boring, sterile, and clinical thing and hopefully energize people to relate to and appreciate the value of software. Otherwise, they could just tell people to read the documentation. That's what we used to do. It's very rude, by the way, right? That's why, like today, if you think about what the alternative of a developer advocate is, what's the alternative? It's what we used to do. It's RTFM, right? The rudest thing you can say to somebody, the thing that says, hey, I don't care about you enough to answer your question, RTFM, that's what we used to do, right? In the vacuum. And then we said, no, that's a bad idea. We're going to scare away the customers. Let's do something else. Let's give them an advocate to talk to, right? So an advocate is a hug from a business making an API, or an organization or a group or whatever who are putting forward an API. And to the extent that you can do that well, good. You can. I think the worst thing a big company can do is put, engineers are great at engineering, but they're not always great at presentations. And likewise, people who are really good at presentations aren't always great at engineering. And if you can get somebody who's pretty okay at both, it's very valuable. If you want your product to succeed, put an advocate in front of people, help them, let them do their job and help energize the base, right? Because otherwise it'll be a very boring presentation, and that people will disconnect. They disengage, which is much worse. You did all that work to make this amazing thing, and then you go out there with your terrible PowerPoint slides, and you're fumbling, and you're reading your notes. It's the worst. It's the actual worst thing, So for people who want to succeed, don't do your presentations yourself. Aim higher.
Yes, and by the way, I've seen a couple of talks by Josh, and he's always crushing it on all the talks. So I really enjoy his talks. They are very authentic. They are very real. They also sometimes make jokes about Java. So I love that. I think it makes it feel very, very human. And yes, I think that developer advocacy really, the human face of the company. So it's a way to interface with and interact with the company in a more human way. And this, I think it's a very important part because as Josh said, tech is boring. Tech is cold, and we make it a bit warmer in all this global warming. But we try to make it a bit warm and a bit more understandable. I also love the fact that you can help someone. For me, the idea of helping fellow developer, it makes this role really interesting, because you are helping someone who is basically like you, and basically you put yourself a bit more out, risking your face, your forehead, and your cheeks, but you're still helping someone who basically knows the same things as you. You talk the same language, so this is
this is the other thing. Okay, this is where it's very important, right? I will be the very first person to say that I'm not teaching people anything that they could not figure out themselves. I'm not very smart. I mean, obviously, come on. But Spring is very, very easy. It is super easy. And so if people want to, They could definitely figure this stuff out by themselves. The difference is you have to give them a reason. You have to make them want to stay focused, right? People have very little time. They don't want, like if you go on stage and you just show bullet points and slides and what, I mean, that's just documentation. That could have been email. That could have been a document with the documentation, you know? So a good presentation will be energizing, and it will keep people's attention and help them. You know, they say a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, right? If you are doing your job well, you'll make people learn while they feel like they're having fun, you know? And to the extent that you can do that, you know, it's not always easy, but it's worth trying to do, because but otherwise, these people are smarter than I am. Most of these people I talk to are much more intelligent. They could definitely, if they wanted to, they could spend, 45 minutes by themselves just studying, and they would get further, I think. But they're busy and they don't know what to focus on.
Yes, but the fact that you can do something doesn't mean that you will do it. I'm sure there are many good videos about calculus on the YouTube. How many people are actually learning calculus? If it does make sense, or all the documentation, or like sometimes you need to know that extra motivation and see maybe someone who is energetic, maybe he can transfer this passion, like Josh does, for example. And this is basically what can make a difference in this cold, let's say, area. So yeah.
Definitely. But I think also, kind of like to share another perspective, I think that there's a huge difference between discipline and motivation, right? So if you want to be great at something, you don't want to, and I think that, by the way, the best illustration of what I'm just going to say has been posted by Adi Osmani a couple months back, where he says, like, motivation is just like a spike that then, it's very volatile and it's very unpredictable in how you make progress. And then you want to be disciplined, which is more stable path, maybe with smaller amplitude and volatility, but it's more consistent. And this is what eventually makes or breaks greatness, in my opinion. And what I think is fascinating about DevRel is that I think good DevRels are great at sparking that initial motivation, but the exceptional DevRels are always out there and always keeping, I don't want to call it hype, because nowadays hype sounds cheap, but always keep the flame flaming. And this is what helps people get into that momentum and that consistency. And this is what separates the average or the good from the great and exceptional DevRels.
I agree. That also reminds me, but again, I think that initial, you're right, they should maintain it, but you've also got to be able to spark that initial flame, and that's not easy. There's no guarantee there. There's one of my favorite quotes is, the Le Petit Prince, the Little Prince. He had the author is Antoine Saint-Exupéry, and he said, if you want to, I might screw up the quote, okay, but I'll try. He said, if you want to build a ship, don't order men to bundle wood and bale water, but instead teach them to yearn for the vast and endless seas, right? Basically, if you want to build something and you've got people, don't yell at them and just tell them what to do and micromanage. Instead, make them want to be in the ocean, make them want to explore the vast and endless seas. And if they want that, they'll do it themselves, right? And so a good advocate will give them that yearning for the vast and endless seas. They'll follow up by themselves. You don't need to hold their hand anymore. Once you've given them that motivation, engineers will dig into it themselves, and they'll become experts, and they'll hopefully they won't need you for the rest of their time. They'll appreciate being able to see you again, and maybe you can occasionally teach them something new. But if you've done your job right, you can light that flame.
100%.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, and if I can say something, because I had the direct experience also with Nimrod and daily.dev. I think that sometimes a good thing that the developer advocate can do is to bring outside the inner energy of a company. If you remember when you had great meeting, a great sprint, and Nimrod is great at putting some energy, and then you pick that energy and then you try to spread that energy outside of it. So I think this is a nice part of trying to transfer this positive energy outside when there is, and also from the inside. Like, when there is someone excited about daily dev, I put this in the daily dev Slack channel. So trying to transfer the good energy here and there. I think it's part of the DevRel. I think not something that can be written on a contract, but like this is, I think, a part that I don't know. I always found this
DevRel
fascinating.
thermodynamics.
Exactly.
Transferring the energy.
We should write a law on this. Yes. Great. So, Josh, I have these events, they're called daily dev DevRel roast. So I would like to roast you, but just a bit, because it's quite warm here. So I'd like you to share a stressful moment in your career, if you had one, even one of the recent one, or like a big one, and maybe, I don't know how you managed that, if you still remember that, and if you have anything to share in this, because people think DevRel is just an easy role. I would like to try to prove them wrong. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I could prove them wrong. My problems are pretty minor, all things being equal. For me, some of the most frustrating moments are, if I miss a conference. I was in, this is like 13 years ago. I was supposed to go to Novosibirsk in Russia for a conference, and I was in Los Angeles meeting with some customers, and the traffic there. I'm from LA, okay? I'm from Los Angeles, and I thought I knew this traffic, and I still was wrong, and I ended up missing my flight, and it was my schedule was tight, so packed, I missed the flight. I could not have made it, I tried everything. Maybe I could go to Moscow or what. I mean, there's no way, and I hate missing flights. If I'm sick, as long as I'm not contagious, if I'm like, if I'm sick or if I'm not well or whatever, I still get up and I go and I do the thing. I don't have I don't have sick days most of the time. Sometimes I do. I mean, if I have COVID or anything really, open source, I won't do it. But if it's just bad allergies or bad asthma or whatever, it's fine. So I don't let most things stop me. But a missed flight, oh, that's so frustrating, because if I could have just been there just 20 minutes earlier or whatever, that's the worst feeling. It's the worst feeling. People were expecting to see you there, and you disappointed. And I don't like, it's not, like you said, you got to be consistent. And if you're flaky, that tarnishes that trust that you're building up. What else is stressful? I don't know. I don't have, okay, I work on Spring. If you're going to be an advocate, Spring is the thing to do, because it just works. I don't know. I don't have issues. Like, you can't, I write a lot of code. I do a lot of jokes. I do nonsense. I have fun on stage. But you can't do that with like COBOL. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way to do that efficiently on stage. And so, I don't know. I don't really have a lot of other stresses. The thing I really just don't like is missing an opportunity that was given to me. Every single time you're in front of a group, that's an opportunity. And if you waste it, it's just the worst feeling. It's the worst feeling, I'm telling you. But otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah, if this can make you feel better, I don't know that, but I spent half of my birthday waiting in an airport with my girlfriend 2 years ago in Mumbai. So yes, if this can make you feel better,
right? I've done that. That's what I'm saying. Birthdays, I've been for some holidays. I'm away. I don't say no. If I say I'm going to do it, I'll do it. I just, it's the worst feeling. Yeah, and sometimes you end up in the airport. I totally get that.
Yes, I spent my 40th birthday. I was actually on a plane, so I celebrated on the plane. So,
oh, buddy,
it's fine. It's fine. I'll not have celebrated anyway. So, yes. Okay. And if you have also any question, you can drop them below. You can say hi in the chat. We are here with Josh, very friendly person. So if you have any question about DevRel, questions directly to him, feel free to drop them. And
so,
yes,
what's the biggest risk to DevRel in the next 10 years?
Are you asking? Wait. What is the biggest risk to DevRel?
Risk, yeah.
Oh boy. I mean, I think I think developer advocates, developer relations, whatever. That's are we sort of canaries in the coal mine, maybe? Like those poor canaries. Are we, as the software industry changes, so too will the developer advocacy around it, right? And so to the extent that developers change, I wonder what that will look like. What's the biggest risk to developers? I think I don't know. I don't know what the biggest risk is actually. I in my mind, there will be more opportunity because we can build more things, right? And when was the last time you had tools that allowed you to build more and more quickly, and that did not result in people building more things more quickly? I can't think of anything in that space. So I don't know what the biggest risk is. I don't know, actually. That's a really good point.
I think one risk might be that, doing all these, I want to be, very honest. We are here, in a honest space, so I try to be honest 100%.
Plus, Francesco, you're using unfair advantage that I'm asking the question. Josh is like struggling, and in the meantime, you're thinking what you're going to say. So next time,
I'm trying to give him time. Yeah. So no, I think that one problem of DevRel is that since you are doing we have 24 hours in our day, so either we do something or we do something else. For sure, I was more skilled as a developer advocate, as a developer when I was just doing coding, full stack developer, because I was just coding more hours. If you spend some of the time to also stay on social media, to organize events, you spend less time coding. That's a rule. You can't escape. You can't fake this. So probably, even if you have a strong technical background, if you stay in DevRel for long, you might, I don't want to say you lose sharpness, but maybe you're not more up to date with some technologies. So you always need to find a way to stay sharp. If you're doing tutorials on a specific technology, amazing. If you are doing, just community events or just you're not actually coding, then maybe you need to find some time if you want to stay sharp on that part. So probably this is one of the risk. Otherwise, you become just an advocate, but not more a developer. So I don't know if this is something that I think it also depends on the company. Depends on what you do. But for example,
I think the key to mastery is to teach, right? If you want to be really good at something, you should be able to teach it. And so, I think it's actually, if you're doing developer advocacy well, then you will end up with some expertise. But you're right, there's always the risk of not keeping up. And if you're not able to keep up, then you're in the wrong job. Developer advocacy requires expertise in development, right? I find that as I get older, my attention span is weaker. It's not that I have less of it, it's just not as strong. So I spend more time to learn the same thing, and so I never had, when I was young, I could sit down and write code, and then I look up and look at my watch and it's tomorrow already. Something has happened. It went from 5 p.m. till 9 a.m. and the entire evening has passed away, and that's not good. You can't keep that up when you're not a young person. That's very, very difficult to do, and you shouldn't do it. It's it's bad for you. You should sleep, obviously. And so I don't know. By the time I started doing developer advocacy, I found that with the busyness of meetings and distractions and stand-ups and lunch break and all this, if I had 4 to 5 hours of good, solid, productive coding a day, that was amazing. That was a really good thing. My brain could only do 4 to 5 hours, right? And then I'd have to take a break. I could keep working, but the results were worse and worse, So it's not hard to find 5 hours every day and do code, even if you're especially if I'm on a plane. That's the best time for me to code, right? I there's no meetings, no distractions, nobody's bothering me, and I have plenty of time, and there's decent Wi-Fi, but not enough Wi-Fi to get distracted with YouTube and all that stuff. Decent Wi-Fi so I can not too much that I can get on the YouTube and get distracted, So I don't know. It should be easy enough to stay. For me, at least, I can keep doing those 5 hours, no problem. And those are good quality hours as opposed to the 20 hours I was doing as a boy, where I was making mistakes and I was falling over myself because I was so tired.
The good thing is that when we are young, we can even skip a night, and probably this doesn't affect our things too much. I remember me sleeping
It
on
does. You just don't realize it.
I remember me sleeping on the floor at some friend's house, and just
Right.
wake up, you stretch, and you go. If I do this now for 2 weeks, I will have like back pain. So I will not sleeping on
There
the
could
floor
be a case that you
anymore.
cannot stand up from the floor. You just
Right.
stay on the floor.
I'll just call the ambulance in that case. So that's how it is. Yeah.
Have you ever like hurt yourself by sleeping? I have. Like oh, my neck. What happened? Yeah, exactly. That kind of stuff matters.
Yes, thank you. Josh, what is a skill that you see few DevRel have, and you think that more developer advocate should have, like a rare skill, a rare characteristics, a rare superpower?
Jeez, I don't know.
A good one, not a rare bad one, a rare good one. You can also answer, Nimrod, because I think you also interface with many developer advocates.
I don't know. What is a skill that they should have? I'll tell you what has worked for me. Keep your presentations moving. I'll tell you 3 things. One is keep your presentations moving. Never sit on a slide for a minute, because people will fall asleep, right? They disengage. They don't have the attention span. This is why, you should never do slides. But if you're going to do slides, make sure you're moving very quickly. Never let the screen stay still for very long. That's 1. 2 is learn some other languages, not programming languages, human languages. Find ways to engage with people in their tongue, and this will ingratiate you with others. And then 3 is learn to tell a joke. It doesn't have to be a good one. Just learn some jokes. Learn to make people smile and disarm them. These things are very important, and they are all very important to helping the process of learning software, which is, like I say, there's nothing funny about software except for, well, PHP is very funny, but everything else, there's nothing really funny about it, right? So learn software, learn to tell a joke.
Do dad jokes count?
Yeah, even bad ones, because people will laugh at you, which is still okay. At least they're laughing, and they're like, they think, oh, this fool. Okay, I wonder what he'll do next. I'll keep watching.
Yeah, the problem is that their jokes is that you have to be hyper serious when you tell them, otherwise they're not working. So you need to say them with a straight, serious face. In that case, they will work, and you really need to believe in them. And I think the best thing is to tell them in succession. Like 1 doesn't work, but you need to say like 3, 4, 5. At the 6th, people start to laugh.
I saw a terrible joke today. Can I tell you?
Of course, you were mentioning like jokes, so now you have to prove it. Yeah.
No, this is a terrible joke. This is not a joke. But I quite liked it. Okay, what happens if you slap someone at high frequency? It hurts.
Oh my god.
It was quite nice.
Anyway, check please, waiter.
Loved it. I'm sure this is part of one of your talks.
The sound engineer in me. Yeah, I used to be a sound engineer, so the sound engineer in me have like so many mixed emotions about what you just said.
So this hit hard, I would say. It actually hit a chord, I would say. Yeah.
Oh.
I think we're ready to conclude this event. We need to stop at the peak.
Yes. Yes. Nimrod, do you have any more questions? Anything else that we want to
I think it was
discuss?
a fantastic event. Josh, I want to thank you a lot for joining us, and Francesco always for being the loveliest, best host ever on the internet. And I've learned a lot from this conversation, and always happy to hear those insights from people who are in the trenches, going and actually helping developers become a better version of themselves through everything, through technology. So it was awesome, and again, I want to thank you both.
Oh, thank you very much. A lot of fun. Good to see you,
Thank
my
you so
friend.
much, Nimrod. I was that close to cry, but luckily you stopped like 5 seconds before me started to cry. Now, I would like to say that these all these events they've been offered to you from daily dev. So one thing that you can do, you can just check it out. Check also Spring. We have all the links below. So check things because I think it's important also to understand and try new things. I'm sure you will be happy with both Spring and daily dev. So thank you. And thank you, Nimrod. Yes, we have now peak moment. Should have brought this more, just to get views, but we wanted to have honest, let's say, audience. That's it. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Josh, for being here today. We learned a lot. I see you always, traveling around the world, delivering talks on time, running on stage, jumping on stage, making people laugh. People always laugh. I always love your talks. For real, I can say this because I've been there also a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely, this is a very, very important skill, a bit underrated skill, but it's hard, to make this tech world, a bit more engaging and a bit more funny. I think it should be a bit more funny.
Can't take it too seriously. It's just software. Just don't be so serious.
Yes.
Go have some fun.
Yes, absolutely. So that's it. Thank you so much, Josh. Thank you so much, Nimrod. So see you around, everyone. And if you're watching this, of course, feel free to leave a comment and ask us anything you want. We are done. Bye, everyone, and see you next time. Bye-bye.